as the Prophet ﷺ said, إذا أصيب أحدكم بمصيبة فليتذكر مصيبته بي فإنها أعظم المصائب. If any one of you was befall, or a calamity befall him, let him remember his tragedy by my death and loss, because this is the worst musibah, calamity. It is true. We had lost the Prophet ﷺ. Having the Prophet ﷺ was something really great, the greatest thing in the Prophet's life, in the companion's life. Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu used to be doing exactly the same thing that the Prophet was doing, even visiting people. The Prophet, Abu Bakr, was doing that when he became the Khalifa after the Prophet ﷺ. He was doing the same thing, even visiting Ayman, an old woman that the Prophet used to visit. Despite all the events that caused Abu Bakr to be really busy, Abu Bakr had to recontrol the peninsula after a chaos had taken place after the death of the Prophet ﷺ. People didn't want to pay the zakat. Other people following two false prophets, Al-Aswad al-Ansi in Al-Yemen and Musaylim al-Kadhab in Al-Yamama, which is close to Riyadh nowadays, something like 15-20 kilometers. He had to control the peninsula. And also those, the Roman Empire and Persian Empire, there was a big fight against them. Despite all these things, Abu Bakr never left anything that the Prophet used to be doing, but he was doing the same. So as for visiting Ayman radiallahu anha, he said to Umar, let's go and visit Ayman, as the Prophet used to be visiting her when he was alive. They went to Ayman. They found her crying. What is the matter, Ayman? Don't you know that what the Prophet has with Allah in the hereafter is ever better than this life? So what are you crying for? She said, Wallahi, I'm not crying for that. I know that what the Prophet has in the hereafter is better for him than this worldly life. But I'm crying for the loss of revelation, the bounty of revelation that used to be revealed on the Prophet ﷺ with every event. That revelation that had been terminated by the death of the Prophet ﷺ. That is why I'm crying. She encouraged them to cry, and they were all crying because of this. What did we lose? By losing the Prophet ﷺ, not only the Prophet himself, but we lost by the death of the Prophet that beautiful revelation that used to be given the verdict, the criterion, when any event take place. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala not to deprive us from being with the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam at the Day of Judgment. Oh Allah, we ask you by your beautiful names and attributes, by your mercy, that you do not deprive us from being close with the Prophet and with the Siddiq and with all the companions. أقول قولي هذا أستغفر الله لي ولكم ولسائر المؤمنين من كل ذنب فاستغفروه إنه هو الغفور الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله وسلم على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. It is always also important for us to remember what will happen in the grave. As we are subjected to the trial and tribulation and test in this life, there will be another trial and test in the grave. Do not forget that. Don't be taken by this worldly life. When you walk outside on the street, you'll find people really enjoying their life. You will see things, even on the TV, things that really make you forget that moment of death. But this is deception in itself. You have been given the example about this life from the food you'd eat. And from that food, when it will be transformed to another material, which you hate. Firstly, you liked it. Secondly, you hate it. Firstly, it tasted good. At the end, it smelled awful. That's life. The example of the life is given to you from the very thing that happens to you every day. How beautiful is the juice? You like to drink it. And afterwards, when you get rid of it, you know how it looks. That is life. You can see people, beautiful woman, but after they die, if you desire that woman who looks really gorgeous, beautiful, I challenge you to keep her one night in your house after she died. Yeah? She stinks. You don't like this. You never think about opening her grave a month after her death. Maybe her movie is still displayed and people are enjoying look at her. While if they open her grave and see how she looks at it. Life is deceptive. People don't think about that moment. What's going to happen after death? What happens to me in my grave? We're told by the Prophet ﷺ, narrated by Jabir bin Abdullah radiallahu anhu, that he said, إذا رأى المؤمن ما فسح له في قبره يقول دعوني أبشر أهلي فيقال له أسكن. He said, if the believer saw what had been widely made in his grave, that means his grave will be wide. That's another system of life. According to our life, the same size of the grave is the same size. But there's another system. This is the system of a life called al-barzakh. You don't see that other system. You're still dealing with your own system. You open the grave, you don't see. You may not be seeing anything. Despite the fact that sometimes Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allows people to see things by His will. Just like what happened to Umar radiallahu anhu. After the death of the Prophet, after the death of Abu Bakr, after the death of Umar radiallahu anhu. At the lifetime of Al-Walid bin Abdul Malik, when they were expanding the mosque of the Prophet ﷺ, they were digging and suddenly they saw a foot. And they were afraid. It was horrific. They thought that this is the foot of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. But afterwards they realized that this was the foot of Umar radiallahu anhu. Because we know that Umar, Abu Bakr are being buried beside the Prophet ﷺ. What is the significant thing in this? This is narrated by Bukhari. What is the significant thing? It is a refutation to those who criticize and insult Umar radiallahu anhu. As if Allah wants to say to them, you know why they thought that this is the foot of the Prophet? Because the body of the Prophets do not become decomposed, will not be decomposed. So the same thing happened to Umar.